Well, in terms of the history of the Golden State Warriors, this was one of the crazier days. They traded for a future Hall of Famer. They drafted a player that maybe will be integral. We'll find out. But I got two of the greatest possible guests you could imagine on the show next. NBA Hall of Famer, NBA top 50 player Rick Barry, and the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors, Kevin Danna. They join me next. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Birddogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA, and they'll throw in a free custom Birddogs Yeti-style tumbler with every order. You can follow NBA Hall of Famer Rick Barry on all social media platforms at Rick24Barry. You can follow the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors, Kevin Danna. Been a while, brother. Great to have you back on the show at Kevo408. Great to see you, gentlemen. How are you doing? Kevin, real quick, where are you at? Are you at home? It looks like the same background.
I am in the crib right here. I hate to be the state-run guy, but obviously with some of the stuff you guys are talking about, I will recuse myself. Happy to talk pods later. I will cede the floor to you and the Hall of Famer Rick Barry for the first part of this show. But yeah, no, happy to be here, Cyrus. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. It's great to have you. And of course, Rick Barry, he hosts the Rick Barry Show. Download the Mic'd Up app. That is where you can watch every episode live. Rick, always a pleasure, sir. How are you this evening? And I guess let's just start with the question right away. What are your thoughts on the Chris Paul trade? We'll get to the draft in a little bit. What is your reaction to that?
I was, surprised, to be honest with you. That's not one that I heard in all the speculation with all the talking heads when they get involved in this kind of stuff. Very surprised, especially when I saw Poole leaving on part of the deal. That makes me think that they're keeping Draymond.
Yes.
That's the situation. I think they felt that one or the other had to go because whatever transpired, that altercation they had, months and months ago, obviously had a major impact on the relationship there. So that was kind of a disaster that they're trying to avoid. So interesting that they did it. The nice thing about this is Chris is going to fit in wherever he goes. I mean, he's a smart player. He's a great player. And he'll be a nice addition to the team, could take a little bit of the burden, certainly off of Steph. Steph might not have to work as hard. Steph can run around and be like Klay Thompson, run and get open, shoot threes instead of having to do it all on his own if you got somebody like Chris Paul in there. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. So that was pretty good. As far as the draft goes, I don't pay any attention to that because what somebody did in college doesn't mean a damn thing to me. Let's see what they can do when they get to the pros.
well, let's go back. We're going to cover the draft in a little bit, and Kevin, I'm going to have you jump in with me for that segment. But let's stay on the Chris Paul thing. Rick, he's 38 years old. Do you think he has gas in the tank, at least enough, to help this team to be a world championship contender? I mean,
certainly for one season. I mean, just look what LeBron just did. I mean, and Chris takes care of himself, obviously, but the thing is, it's here. He knows how to play.
Right.
He's smart. He'll fit in so great with the Warriors and their style of play. So I think that's a nice addition for the Warriors, and I think he'll be helpful. I really do believe he will be helpful.
Do you see him coming off the bench? Do you? I mean, I don't imagine he's going to start. I see the value, I guess, in Chris Paul primarily leading a second unit that was very mediocre last year. What kind of role do you see him in? Do you see him in lineups with Steph? I mean, they're getting smaller. That's the part that really sticks out to me. What do you see in terms of his role for this team?
Well, I agree about the smaller part. His role will be basically, to go be the guy that can take care of business when Steph's getting some rest, but also they'll play together. I would play them together for sure.
Right.
Because now Steph is so great without the ball. And now you've got somebody like Chris Paul to get it to him who's a threat himself. No, I like it. I mean, I really do like it. I think they'll blend in together tremendously. Way better than so many of the other trades that took place when people brought two guards together. Okay, we could probably talk a whole show just on that.
Yeah, yes, we can. And I'm looking at the chat right now, and Justin Lamas writes this. Do you see Chris Paul being part of a death lineup? And he refers to Curry, Chris Paul, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Draymond Green lineup. That sounds interesting. What are your thoughts on that potentially being the new Warriors death lineup?
Yeah, no, I think, certainly that's a possibility. I mean, when you have a player of the caliber and the intelligence who knows the game so well, it'd be crazy not to have him when you're trying to go ahead and put that type of a squad together. How would you eliminate him from the equation? That'd be kind of foolish.
Yes, sir. Rick, I personally love 3-on-3 basketball. Your son Canyon is competing to play potentially in the Olympics. I believe the men's team in the recent FIBA Cup finished with silver. The women got gold. But besides your son playing in 3-on-3 basketball, you coach in the Big Three. And we talked about a player that you drafted on your roster as part of the Ball Hogs, Jalen Johnson, and Kevin. We were all talking about this before we started recording. Kevin, as the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors, real fast, Jalen Johnson, you saw him. You called games where he played, I believe, for the Pistons G League team. Rick has raved about him. I've seen the clips. I agree. Kevin, what are your thoughts on Jalen Johnson?
So I love Jalen Johnson. I watched him with the Windy City Bulls 5 years ago. It was the first time I really saw him. And just what he does just kind of pops out when you watch him. Just really fluid with the ball in his hands. Can be like a 0.4 for you. I'm a fan. He actually does have NBA experience. He got called up to the Chicago Bulls for like a day on like a 10-day contract, and it quickly got terminated early for whatever reason. I don't know. But Windy City Bulls, Iowa Wolves. He was with the Motor City Cruz this year. He's turned in a nice G League professional career. A guy I think is underrated in the G League. He averaged he played 24 minutes a game this year, I want to say, and averaged 11 points per game. 11 points, 8 rebounds, 2+ assists. So highly productive when he was on the floor. I'm a big Jalen Johnson guy.
Yeah, and Rick, you've been raving about him. You drafted him for the Ball Hogs. How can people watch this weekend? I'm going to watch your team play the Big Three. Do you have that information? Good.
I think one of the games, CBS, they got something. One of them's going to be on. Part of it's going to be done because it's going to be 6 games. I mean, so if somebody's going to go to their service, going to get their money's worth because they can watch 6 different games over the course of the day. And they'll be on different avenues. I don't know if they've got it onto YouTube or something, or get it streaming someplace else on some of these other avenues. But one of the games will be on. At least one of the games is going to be on CBS.
Well, Kevin and I are going to get into the draft pick in just a second. The Warriors with the 19th pick selected Brandin Podziemski. He played for Santa Clara last year. Rick, I know you haven't done your research on him, and that's fine. But I'm curious to know, in your opinion, Rick, and when it comes to basketball opinions, yours is second to none, sir. I always pay special attention and take every word you say seriously, and I absorb it. I think about it. Can the Warriors' position, does it matter who they drafted? Do you envision this kid playing for the team next year?
All right. So I didn't even know who you're talking. Well, how tall is he?
He's a shooting guard who at 6'5", who has an incredible three-point shot. He averaged over 8 rebounds a game. That's what sticks out to me the most. I don't know, but
no. I mean, the nice thing. I mean, obviously, but still, we're talking about small. I mean, they did get some size.
Yes, they do.
I mean, so it would have been nice if somebody was out there that they liked that maybe was 6'9" or something like that.
There was. That's the part that I'm really frustrated with this process, is that the Warriors could have drafted Cam Whitmore, who is 6'8", about 240. Although I hear different dimensions from him. I saw 6'8" on one website, 6'6" on another one. But point is, he's a forward. He would have given him size. He was projected to go in the top 10 to be a lottery pick. He fell to 19. The Warriors did not grab him, and he got selected with the very next pick. You're right. I'm with you. They need size. But regardless of who it is, can a rookie, I guess we saw it last year with Keegan Murray, but for this Warriors team who still considers themselves to be world championship contenders, do you see a rookie playing? Does it matter this year?
Well, it depends on how intelligent he is and understanding of the game. And if he really understands the game and he has a great feel for the game and he has talent, I mean, there's no way that the coaching staff and Steve Kerr is not going to see that and try to take advantage of it. Because the way the game is played today, it's not as major an adjustment because the game is not as physical as it was back when I came into the league. So although these athletes, I mean, oh my God, you see the size of these guys? That's why I get such a kick out of looking at the Joker, because he looks like I said, Baby You. He doesn't have any muscle tone or anything, but he's a hell of a basketball player. So yeah,
He doesn't look the part, but his conditioning is exemplary.
Well, hopefully they got the right thing, but they just got rid of Poole, so I mean, they can, they're getting somebody in that category and stuff. And if he's maybe consistently a better shooter from 3-point range, which is a big part of it. So maybe they're looking at it in that way, and then hoping that Kuminga. That was the biggest surprise to me, is how Kuminga didn't get a chance to play much. I thought he was really starting to come along a little bit, and I know he has a nice feel for the game, because I told you when I first saw him at Summer League a couple of years ago, I saw him make some plays that I said, wow, okay, he's got a feel for the game. It's not like he's there and he's like the black hole and he can't see the floor or do anything. He made some nice moves. He got in trouble. Boom, nice pass to somebody, set him up for a basket. So that impressed me a lot. So I do like, I'm a fan of his. I think he has a chance to be a heck of a basketball player if he's guided in the right direction.
There you go. Rick, I'm going to bid adieu to you right now, but you and I will host a new episode of the Rick Barry Show very soon. And all you got to do is follow either Rick on all social media platforms. It's the same handle, Rick24Barry, or you can follow me, Cyrus Saatsaz, the Dog Surf Road Show. We'll tweet out when we're going to host it, but download the Mic'd Up app. It's MIC''D. It's where every show is broadcasted live. Rick, anything else you want to promote before we say goodbye to you?
Well, just the same old thing, medicinaleaf.com, HemiDicileaf.com, Go Sleeves, SLEEVES.com, and AlloMD.com, and put in the code RB24, and that's small R, small B, 24, and you'll get a nice discount on these products that I don't know how I would survive. I'm in pretty darn good shape for an old man, but
yes, you are.
This help now. I love it. The cannabinoids and stuff, and the CBD products, and we have a lot more than just CBD, and that's pretty cool. The Ghost Sleeves, I never play pickleball without them, and same thing with the great products from Allo MD. So anyway, I wish everybody all the best. You guys have a good show, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Chris Paul does for the team and seeing who they pick up outside of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You're a legend, sir. Thank you as always, Rick. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Thank you, sir. That is the legend himself, Rick Barry. Kevin, you're stuck with me now. We're going to talk draft and so much more in just a minute. Got to give some love first to one of our many sponsors, and that's Birddogs. Kevin, have you heard of Birddogs? Is that a relatively new name and concept to you?
It is a new concept to me, Cyrus.
All right. You are the target demo for Birddogs, because Birddogs is all about clothing for men. And the angle is simple. It's all about comfort, but you looking good in the process. So I got a couple of their shorts, and again, super comfortable. And you could go swimming in these things. You could do whatever you want, but you could also later that same day go out to dinner in them and still look the part. That's what Birddogs is all about. So Kevin, I know you would love it, and I'll try to score you some clothes if possible from them. But for everyone else out there, if you're looking for clothing that, again, represents comfort and style, go to birddogs.com/lockedonnba, where you can also get a free Yeti style tumbler with your order. I love mine. It's a clutch little addition that they throw in. That's birddogs.com/lockedonnba for a free Yeti style tumbler. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. For the everydayers on the show tomorrow, Kylan Mills will join me again. We're going to talk about this draft pick that the Warriors just made. And in the meantime, I have the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors, Kevin Danna. Been a while, man. I'm glad to have you back. Yeah. It's been too long. You've been incredibly busy. I feel like with Victor Wembanyama, you've been calling the games for his French team. Is that correct? Like, what have you been up to, man? Describe that role you've been involved in recently.
Yeah, I mean, Santa Cruz is always number one in my heart, but the Victor Wembanyama gig I had this year was the coolest thing I've ever done. I'm not gonna lie. Like it was just awesome getting a chance to call his entire games on the NBA app. So that took me to June 15th. So that took up a lot of my time.
So now we're gonna get dinner finally, right?
Yeah. Well,
Finally gonna meet up.
New
Okay.
York. I'm going to New York City tomorrow night after hosting the Warriors draft press conference. So
Why?
yeah.
Why? Why are you going to New York?
Just to hang out. I got
Oh,
friends
just a
out
party.
there.
Have you ever been there?
Oh yeah, I've been there a few times. So yeah,
Okay.
one of my good college friends lives out there. One of my good high school friends lives out
Gotcha.
there. So yeah.
It's in my humble opinion, the greatest city in the world. I really do believe that. It's phenomenal. So have fun, man. When you get back, we got to hang out. But right now, we're talking about Brandin Podziemski, the new draft pick for the Golden State Warriors. They picked him with number 19. I'm not gonna lie, man. When I saw the name, I was disappointed simply because of what I mentioned a few moments ago. Kim Whitmore was available on the board. And this is someone who was projected to be in the top 10, and the Warriors passed up on him. Now, who they got with Brandin Podziemski, the Warriors on their Twitter account actually wrote this phenomenal description of him that should excite people. He was the 2022-2023 WCC Co-Player of the Year. He led the WCC in rebounding as a 6'5" guard. He was one of 3 players in the NCAA to average over 19 points per game, over 8 rebounds per game, and over 3 assists per game. He was 5th in the NCAA in 3-point field goal percentage, and he led the WCC in double-doubles. In a nutshell, what the gist I'm getting about Brandin Podziemski is that this is someone who has some physical toughness, who can shoot the ball lights out. The rebounding thing is wild. I have no idea about his defense. What is your impression of Brandin Podziemski? Do you like the pick? Your thoughts?
Yeah, so I mean, first off, for someone from not St. Mary's or Gonzaga to win WCC Player of the Year is quite the accomplishment, because those two schools have dominated that conference for the last. I mean, Gonzaga's been on top of it the last 20 plus years, and St. Mary's since 2010 basically. So those two schools have dominated that league for so long. So for a conference player of the year to come from not one of those schools just shows you how impressive Podziemski was at the WCC level. Look, I'm reading off the scouting report I compiled from various sources. Draft. I'm trying to think of the sites I used to correctly attribute, but a couple of NBA Scouting Live, maybe some Draft Express, some NBA Big Board with Rafael Barlow, some Ringer. So all that kind of goes into this, but what the pros are for him is that he's got a strong frame, which, his 6'5", 205, not the biggest dude, but that, the strong frame is able to get him those 8.8 rebounds per game that you mentioned. Also has good instincts. So, a nose for the ball, which obviously comes up huge in rebounding, good vision, a good motor, can attack off the dribble and not just a catch and shoot guy, has good feel as a pick and roll ball handler. And yeah, so those are all the positives. And just to think, this year came off a year after he played at Illinois barely. He played 4 minutes per game at Illinois. He averaged 1.5 points and a rebound per game in 15 games. So he played he was a DNP for basically half the season at Illinois and played in 4 minutes per game in the games that he did play. That's barely better than walk-on minutes, right? And this was a 4-star recruit. And then transfers to a lower league from the Big Ten to the WCC and absolutely obliterates the competition.
Well, that's positive. Are there any negatives? Is there anything about him that concerns you?
The cons that people would say, the weaknesses in his game would be that people would say he has a slow release on his shot. He's not a super vertical athlete. Doesn't have great burst and quickness, though. I will say I think the weakness of not being a vertical athlete, that was before he went to the draft combine. I'm pretty sure he had a 39.5-inch max vert or something like that. Someone's gonna have to check me on that, but he really impressed with his max vert because the book on him wasn't that he necessarily was a vertical athlete. He's not known for having great burst and quickness. There's questions about his frame and how that will project on defense at the NBA level. When you look at weaknesses, those are some of the things that people will say about him. having watched his year at Santa Clara. Some of those questions, though, did get cleaned up in the pre-draft process because he was a guy who, like former Santa Clara Bronco Jalen Williams, really wowed in Chicago at the NBA Draft Combine this year.
Right. When we come back, I'm curious to know how you see not only his role with the Warriors next year, but his role with the Santa Cruz Warriors next year. There's also a couple players who played extensively at Santa Cruz last year, who very well might be playing a lot with the Warriors. I mean, there's going to be some numbers called, and I'd love to get your insights on that and so much more. Got to give some love first to eBay, and more specifically eBay Motors, a proud sponsor of the Locked On Podcast Network, and more specifically Locked On Warriors, for a championship team, and that's who the Warriors continue to strive to be. It's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Again, that's ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. I'm just laughing at the chat. Some funny comments in there. You can follow Kevin Danna on Twitter at Kevo408. And again, congrats on the. Is Victor Wembanyama like your buddy now? Like, how close are you with him? Do you have his phone number? What is your relationship with Victor?
I've asked Victor Wembanyama exactly one question in my entire life. Like, I'm doing these games from 8,000 miles away. Like, yeah. If I approached Victor Wembanyama, he'd be like, "Who the hell are you?" He has no idea who I am. So we are not boys. But I love watching him. I cannot wait to see him in the NBA next year.
And I saw you do some work recently with Kristen Peak, who was on this show about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. I've always said this, man, that if I'm ever hired as a GM, she's the first call I'm making. She's my assistant GM. She is brilliant when it comes to assessing,
Really
analyzing. Yeah, I mean, and you did a podcast with her, right? I think
so. KP and I did like 5 to 6 Wembanyama games together this year. Like, she's money. Absolutely love KP. And did her podcast with Tim Martin. Was on the same episode. We didn't do it at the same time, but Tim Martin is Victor Wembanyama's trainer here in America. KP is the best. Absolutely enjoy working with her. So she's awesome.
She is phenomenal, and she is who I usually rely on for my draft information. So the Warriors, they have some open spots right now. I imagine Andre Iguodala is not going to come back. You never know, though, but he's probably going to retire. And ultimately, they're going to have some roster spots to fill. Who's on the Santa Cruz team? And I'm thinking of Guy Santos. Who on the Santa Cruz team do you see? Pat Spencer, I don't know if he's coming back. Who can step up? Who that you covered last year playing for Santa Cruz? Lester Quinones is a big one. He had a 2-way deal. Who do you think is going to be promoted and playing some significant minutes for the Warriors, if any?
Well, I think Lester's going to have a shot, right? Like he got the call up. He got the 2-way contract. He scored his first NBA points, which was great to see. I mean, I think there's a chance that I think he's at least on a 2-way contract next year. I think he's got a chance to be a 15-man guy. I think Guy Santos, I would love to see him on a 2-way contract next year. I think he is a rotation player within 2 to 3 years now. Okay. I really like Guy Santos. I think he could be I think he can be a player. So I think, that he was a draft and domestic stash guy next year. So last year. So I think the step up for him would to be on a 2-way contract. So I think those are a couple of guys straight away that you can see get some sort of minutes, at least garbage time minutes for Golden State. Because I imagine it's going to be, however the roster plays out, it would be tough for those guys to crack the top 11 in the rotation, but you still need to fill out some other roster spots. And at that point, maybe if you have a rest day kind of game, if you will, where the veterans rest, maybe that's where you see a Guy Santos and a Lester Quinones get kind of more extended minutes. So those would be kind of the two most likely candidates. And then I imagine, now that there's going to be 3 2-way spots, they will pick up an undrafted free agent and put him on a 2-way, or maybe some, like, there is another 2-way to be out there. And I don't know if they're going to put Guy Santos or Lester Quinones on 2-ways, but those would be like just the front of the mind Santa Cruz candidates for those spots.
You just said something that is news to me. I did not know this. I imagine this is part of the CBA. There are now 3 2-way spots on every roster?
Yeah, 3 2-way spots.
How does that work? Is it still 15 total? And now
So now, I'm just double checking 3 2-way roster spots. When does this come into it? So I'm just double checking that comes into effect this year.
That's interesting.
And
it's going to be the same premise like
CBA. So yeah.
And it's the same premise where they can't play in the postseason. There's a 50-game limit. Maybe that might be a nuanced question. I don't know if you can answer that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm reading the Real GM article right now. 50 games, make half the rookie minimum.
Okay, that's more money. That's a change, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not exact. Well, the rookie minimum's what, like 800,000 or something like that.
Yeah, actually, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, you might be right. I don't know.
So I mean, but like, say that's like, hold on, I'm gonna look this up. What?
All right. Well, and while you're doing that, I don't know if you can answer this question. I know you work for the Warriors. You're the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors. The Santa Cruz team's owned by Golden State, so you have to follow the rules, and I get that. Are you allowed to talk about fun things like trade speculation and stuff like that? Like, let me ask you this, not the Chris Paul stuff. We're not going to touch that, but can I ask you, or can you answer, for example, are there any free agent bigs out there that you would like to see come to the Warriors? Like, can you answer something like that, or is that
I don't know what I can or can't say in situations like that. And
fair enough.
I care too much about myself.
Of course.
Yeah.
Don't be jeopardizing a thing on this show, man. Please don't do that. Rob Mack. Rob Mack.
But by the way, rookie minimum salary last year was $953,000. So all right, so like 2-way guy's going to make like $475,000, $480,000.
That's good money. Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a lot more than it used to be. I could be mistaken on that, but
because it used to be like your G League minimum salary was $77,000,
right?
And then like you could make up to like maybe 500,000. Like it was a sliding scale. You were either paid a G League salary for your time in the G League or an NBA salary for your time in the NBA, but you were capped at 45 days of service, not 50 games. And so now that they went to games, now it's just half the rookie minimum salary. So like, yeah, that is a significantly better deal for guys on a 2-way.
Hell yeah, man. So you mentioned Guy Santos. Is there anyone, especially now that there's a third 2-way, who else in Santa Cruz has a shot? Like, are there any other names that are worth mentioning that you want to hype up? Is there no one else?
I mean, if Pat Spencer's healthy, the thing is, like, he wasn't healthy last year. Pat Spencer could be somebody. He really could be somebody.
I agree. I
like Pat Spencer.
I like Pat Spencer a lot too, man. That was part of my Ty Jerome annoyance last year. Was I thought Pat Spencer could have done better, but I
well, he couldn't have done better when he was hurt. So
true, that is true. So he's healthy now. Okay, so we got Pat Spencer.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, assuming he's. Yeah, I'm reminded. Jerome Robinson, I think, is an NBA player.
Interesting.
There are injury questions there, but this guy was a lottery pick for a reason.
Absolutely.
Like he, a guy who fits the Warriors mold. There are two guys who fit the Warriors mold, and I'm not saying that they're going to be on the Warriors next year, but two guys, as I look at this roster, that I'm reminded of. Jordan Shackle, who played in Summer League with Golden State 2 years ago, like just kind of a floor spacing 3 and D-ish wing, a little undersized. He's 6'6", but like, yeah, just fits kind of that Warriors DNA. And then Hyunjung Lee, a guy who might have gotten drafted if he didn't break his foot in the pre-draft process last year. He was like a top 100 prospect last year. He basically practiced once and then started playing in games for Santa Cruz, and like his shooting percentages suffered. But like when he gets it rolling, man, he is automatic. He's 6'7", 210. Played at Davidson, so you got the Steph Curry connection there. I kind of like HJ as he goes by. Those are guys who, we'll see, but like those are guys who kind of fit the Warriors mold in terms of like floor spacing, moving the ball quickly, that kind of stuff.
What about correct me if I'm mistaken on his name. I think it's Travion Williams, played for Purdue.
Yeah, we don't have his right. Or they traded him to.
You can say that. You can say that for the record. Yeah. Yes.
So Travion Williams, I'm a big fan of. Like, he's just really fun to watch.
Yeah.
Really interesting passer. He had high turnover numbers in the G League. And I think that's one reason why they moved him, because at one point, and it wasn't all Travion Williams, so I'm not going to put
they traded him. They traded him?
They don't have his rights anymore. They traded him for Jordan Shackle. But one reason why they moved him is, I think, they wanted to get like that. They moved him at around the time that they had James Wiseman on assignment. So they wanted Wiseman to get more time with Santa Cruz. The turnovers, like Santa Cruz was averaging 21 turnovers per game as a team while he was on the roster. It wasn't all him. He wasn't averaging 21 turnovers, but like he wasn't exactly helping the situation. And C, they really like Jordan Shackle. I like Travion Williams. I personally am a fan of his game.
Same.
But like, I think the Warriors as an organization has seen Travion Williams, and if they have traded his rights at the G League level, they probably don't want to bring him up to the NBA level.
Who is this Jordan Shackle guy? I haven't heard about him at all. Does he have a shot?
So he's a San Diego State guy. He has played in the NBA before on a 2-way contract with the Washington Wizards. I want to say he has 2 years of NBA experience, but it's been like 12 games or something. Yeah. He's played in 6 total NBA games.
Okay.
Over the course of 2 years. He's kind of like I wouldn't quite say like a 4A player right now. He's probably more of like a 3.8, 3.75A NBA player, or 3.75A player, to use a baseball analogy. But he's a guy who he shot 40% from 3 last year and 41% when he was with Santa Cruz, and he did it on more than 5 attempts per game. 45% from the field overall. Rebounded. He started to rebound better as the year went on. The ball doesn't really stick with him. If he gets it, he's kind of a 0.5 guy. He's a dribble pass shoot within a half second kind of dude. So like he kind of fits. A good locker room guy. So like, yeah, a guy that you like to have around your team.
Love it. 2 more questions, and we'll call it a wrap here with Kevin Danna, the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors. You can follow him on Twitter at Kevo408. Summer League. Who's playing for the Warriors of note? Are you calling the games, and who can we expect to see?
So yeah, TBD on whether we are broadcasting Summer League games this year. Hopefully, I hope to be out there. Also TBD on the roster. They usually announce the roster. Let's see, what the first game's like July 2nd in Sacramento. Like probably 4 to 5 days in advance of that, you would know. So probably like 5 to 6 days from today's a week max is when you would kind of find out who would be on the roster. I think Shackle is a guy who you could see in Summer League. I think H.J. Lee will be is a Summer League candidate. Obviously, I think you see Guy Santos and Lester Quinones would be guesses, and PBJ probably get a couple of games.
Yeah.
One would imagine, and obviously Brandin Podziemski. I gotta say the name right. Podziemski.
Yeah. The best way to tell people, if you want to know how to pronounce his last name, just replace the D, the Z, and the I with a J. And I think
there you
okay.
go. Yeah, there you go. Boom,
Podziemski.
boom, diggity, Cyrus.
Yeah.
So so that's those would be guesses that I have on who would be on the Summer League roster, and then you probably fill that with 4 to 5 undrafted rookies that you want to take a look at, and then probably 3 to 4 guys who have been pros for 3 to 4 years around, probably, top out at a 20, maybe 27 years and younger would kind of be the age range. And, maybe some guys they had Davon Reed in their Summer League a couple of years ago after he'd been in the NBA for 2 years. And Davon Reed has gone on to be a pretty nice back end of rotation player in the NBA with the Denver Nuggets. And then he got traded to LA. And he got waived for Tristan Thompson, I believe. But so guys that need a kicking of the tires on a second go around. They had Jimmer Fredette 4 years ago in Summer League. Guys of that profile. You'll probably get guys who have played in the NBA.
Right, Kenneth Faried was on, I think, the team last year, right? I mean,
Kenneth Faried was in the G League last year.
Yeah, but he played for the Warriors briefly as a training camp invite, I think. I don't know if he played in the Summer League, but
he didn't play.
Right,
those times he might have played in. I don't know one way or another about training camp, but he wasn't on the Summer League roster last year. But guys of that ilk, you can find a couple of those guys on your Summer League roster.
Absolutely, man. So we'll end the show on this note. First of all, and I don't know if you can't jump in on this or not, but Justin Lamas writes, when Chris Paul's contract ends and he presumably retires, can we replace his contract with a free agent? No, not unless the team is below the salary cap, which is why on the show earlier today, Larry Krueger mentioned he might be valuable as an asset to trade next year if they decide to pick up his option and then trade it to treat him kind of like a trade exemption and then use that $30 million to get someone else, or you just do nothing with it. But no, the Warriors cannot sign another free agent if he retires unless the team goes below the salary cap. So I hope it answers that for you. And the last one, this is for both of us. Rob Mack writes that our Warriors have not improved at all. What do you think they are? Or I guess you're asking, are they better today than they were yesterday? Look, in terms of the Chris Paul thing, and again, I know, Kevin, you can't touch on this. I'm hoping the story's incomplete. If this is the finished product, I'm not feeling great about things. That I'll leave it at that. But Kevin, I'll ask you this, man, and we'll finish the show on this note. Do you feel good about Brandin Podziemski? Is that a solid draft pick for you? And how are you feeling in general, in the best way you can answer this, about our Golden State Warriors?
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely have no complaints on the Brandin Podziemski pick.
Well, that's good.
Right? The guy, you mentioned it, 1 of 3 in the NCAA, averaged 19, 8, and 3. Yep. At some point, you got to look at production. The guy produced big time. And Santa Clara was good this year. They made the NIT. This is a team that kind of floundered since Steve Nash was there. They haven't been in the NCAA since Steve Nash, I don't think. And so to get to the NIT, and I think they've done it in back-to-back years now. I could be wrong on that. Or they've made a postseason tournament in back-to-back years. Herb Sendek's doing a nice job there. So I don't think that can be understated. I'd be curious if Jaime Jaquez was available at 19, what they would have done. I'm a big Jaime Jaquez guy.
Okay.
But obviously he wasn't there at 19. And so, I have absolutely no beef with the Brandin Podziemski pick. I think it's way too early to say, oh, this is a great pick or a bad pick, right? The guy's got to play 3 years in the NBA before we can say one way or another.
Right.
But this was not like the Ringer projected him on Monday to go 19th to the Golden State Warriors. This is not like a super reach for them to get Brandin Podziemski.
Yeah, my only complaint is that you're right. He was projected in one or two mock drafts to go to the Warriors, but at the same time, I didn't really see any other teams that interested in him. I do feel like the team could have traded down in a draft as deep as this and gotten another draft pick and still landed Podziemski. But whatever. It is sour grapes at this point. I just really hope it works out. And I hope he turns into something, man. I don't know what else to say about that. But Kevin, I can't thank you enough for coming on. It's always a pleasure. It's always great to see you. We need to get that dinner soon. Anything you want to promote before we call it a wrap? Anything going on in your life that you want to mention?
I'll be hosting the Warriors draft press conference tomorrow. Time to be determined, but
What does that mean? Like you're going to be up at the podium, like saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, here is Brandin Podziemski."
It'll be me, Pods, and Mike Dunleavy Jr., I believe.
Wow! All right.
I did this last year with Rollins, Santos, and PBJ, and I think Bob was up there. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, so okay. I imagine it'd be, then I don't know. I mean, whatever happens from the draft, but there's 14, 13 picks to go in tonight's draft as we're recording this on Thursday night. So
yeah,
the Warriors do love their second round picks. Oh, yes, sweet. Hey, I'm sorry. Mojave King just got drafted. He's a G League Ignite guy. I love Mojave King. I really like what this guy can be. I'm just happy that an Ignite guy got selected. So they've had 4 guys get drafted from G League Ignite. So I'll be at Chase Center tomorrow, hosting the draft press conference.
Oh, that's awesome, man. And there's something about the Warriors and players from Wisconsin. I mean, going back to 2019, Jordan Poole, Patrick Baldwin Jr. last year, and now we got another Wisconsin kid, Brandin Podziemski. So,
yeah, it's weird. Looney. Milwaukee.
Oh, Kevon Looney. That's right. Yeah, Kevon Looney. Yeah, I don't know what it is in the Wisconsin water or the cheese, but the Warriors have an affinity for that. So, thank you, my man. Always a pleasure, brother. Have fun in New York, and for the rest of you, we're going to get into this a lot more tomorrow, especially talking about what's next for the Warriors, because hopefully they've got more things cooking if they want to be World Championship contenders. Follow Kevin Danna on Twitter at Kevo408. Thanks, brother. Thanks to everyone. Brandin Podziemski, new member of the Golden State Warriors. Welcome aboard, and possibly Chris Paul as well. So the Warriors are changing. Roll with us. Kevin, love you, brother. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Do you like that?